Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Graeme. I'm currently the CEO of Hyperkelp. But in a previous career, I was fortunate enough to be the chief scientist at Surfline. Co-founder is a little bit of a stretch, but I'll take it. So at Hyperkelp, what I do here is we build smart buoys for wave and ocean sensing. We do that here in San Diego, and our goal is to be around the world very soon. Today I'm going to talk about a few memories of water, a couple of fun forecasting facts, which are going to be difficult because they're on the slides down there, and a little bit about my current work. I met Walter a number of times, socially and through work, and I walked away with the same feeling every single time, that curiosity was a muscle you could train. And Walter never skipped a day at the gym. And by the way, one photo down here was Surfline presenting then 90-something-year-old Walter with a lifetime free membership. And he thought the timing of that and the amount of money he was going to get was absolutely hilarious. But Walter helped teach the world that a storm-generated swell can cross entire oceans with surprisingly little loss. And this is always fun to do on a globe. If people still have globes, you can draw a straight line from Madagascar all the way around under Australia up to California. So if you see big storms in the Indian Ocean near Madagascar, they have to be a little bit closer to us. Those waves will reach here about 2 weeks later. And one of the things that Walter did, and I'll talk a little bit about Sean later as well, was they figured out exactly how long that would take. It was so cool. He also pushed everyone to look at wave spectrum. And that's a way of looking at waves, looking at the energy that's in a wave, that's not just its height, but you look at that height based on the different periods and the different directions. And those two ideas are what underpin modern surf forecasting. So it's not just a single wave, it's all the different together, and teasing them apart is what makes all the difference. And you can think about, a little bit closer. Okay, there, sorry.
Thank you.
Is that better? Yeah. I thought I was loud enough anyway, but now everyone in the back can hear too. Okay. I want to be able to see this though. So here we go. So if you think about waves like sound, think of a crowd talking. If there are lots and lots and lots of people talking, we're all using the same air, right? All of those voices and all of those noises are all traveling across each other. They never interfere with each other. If I'm talking to you and someone's talking to someone over there, those waves don't bounce and make it harder for you to hear me, although this helps, right? So being able to pull those two different waves apart, or those multiple waves if you're in a big conversation, that's the difference that can turn your day into a crappy day at the beach or 6 foot in glass somewhere. So, but again, we've already mentioned this. What Walter has done goes way, way back as well. His surf forecasting goes back to the D-Day landings, and we've already talked a little bit about that. That's where getting the surf forecast wrong could cost everything, just not a bad day at the beach. Swerdrup and Munk saw that tiny, tiny window where the waves were going to knock down, the winds were going to drop down, and it was the day after they were originally planning to do the D-Day landings. So these two guys called everybody and said, "You got to stop for 24 hours." And you can just imagine what that phone call was like. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of troops just ready to go. If you ever watch the movie The Longest Day, you can see what they're going through, and you can see all of that about the weather, the rain, and the wind, and then suddenly it stops. So it even made it into a movie in the 1950s, one of the greatest war movies ever made. So I also had the privilege to work with Sean Collins, Surfline's original founder. He started the company back in 1985, and he's another giant in the space of surf forecasting and weather forecasting. Sean was largely self-taught forecaster. He dropped out of school because he wanted to sail and he wanted to surf, and that was it. And he was really skeptical of computers and black boxes. He didn't like process data at all. All he would ever do his forecasting from were pressure charts. I joined Surfline during the dot-com boom, so that's when the whole founder thing happened. It was me with one of my other companies that we started, got merged, and we all started this big new Surfline together back in 1999-2000. And I remember hours and hours and hours of discussion with Sean, trying to convince him that computers were the future. And he saw it, and he ran with it. So together with Paul Whitman and Bill O'Reilly, who might be here today, he's a professor up at Scripps, another giant of wave modeling, the four of us built Lola. So if any of you can remember the first time surf forecasting, surf modeling came to the masses, that happened in 2001, and it was a game changer. Absolutely amazing stuff. And we proved with math that Lola could make surf forecasting better, and he could improve everybody's chance of getting some good waves at the beach. Surfline retired that wave model after 20 years, and it ran non-stop as a stretch. There were a few times it would die, and we would hear about that endlessly, but it ran non-stop from 2001 to 2021, and now it's been replaced by an even better version of the same code. So that brings me a little bit to what I'm doing now. I'm no longer at Surfline. I run Hyperkelp. And one of the things that we at Surfline knew that gave us the edge was a thing called a simulation, which is where if you take a wave model that's just run on a computer and you feed it with some real information about what the waves are doing. If you feed it that at this one point you forecasted the waves are going to be 3 foot and they're actually 4 foot, you can feed that back in and make the wave models better. So we knew that having observations out in the deep ocean would make our wave models better. And specifically at Easter Island and Pitcairn Island, we could massively improve our forecasts. But Surfline wasn't in the business of building buoys. Surfline was in modeling. So I left Surfline and I started building buoys. And our buoys focus on wave spectra. We have it built into the models of the buoys. They measure themselves bouncing around, and they can turn that back into the wave spectra. We can send the wave spectra back to wave models for anyone who wants it, and we can get better models. We've actually got three buoys in San Diego Bay right now. One is at the entrance to Zuniga Jetty. That's the one that's going to be measuring waves. We're putting another one off Imperial Beach probably next week or the week after. So when that data goes live, which will be in about 2 or 3 months, we'll have spectral real-time wave data for one of our local beaches, which is super exciting. We're currently working with the Port of San Diego here in San Diego Bay as well to measure a lot of other things. And with Paula right here, thank you, Paula, for putting your faith in us. We're measuring dissolved oxygen, pH, waves, underwater noise, airborne carbon dioxide. Those cruise ships are filthy, filthy beasts, and we want to be able to measure that. So we're excited to get that last buoy in the water. And just like Walter, a lot of what we do now is working with defense branches. We do a lot of work with the Navy, we do a lot of work with the Air Force. So it's very similar tools that Walter used, but it's a lot more tech, some different adversaries, but it's the same goal of trying to turn uncertainty into decisions. And Walter works tirelessly with the Navy for over 80 years. I would hope that we can do something similar. One last thing that we've been working on that I think Walter would have absolutely loved to get his hands on. Technology is moving so fast right now. Things are changing so quickly, it's hard to keep up. There are new GPS systems that can measure a vertical position to within a few centimeters. Completely impossible 2-3 years ago. These satellites are going up now, they're called L5. That means you can measure the sea surface, the height of the sea surface, to within a couple of centimeters. And if any of you have been following the tsunamis, those tsunami waves, when they're out in the open ocean, they are very fast. They are very, very long, orders of 60 miles long, but they're only about that high. So you can't see that, or you couldn't until now. So we're working with the NSF to develop a system that can measure that passing tsunami wave using floating buoys out in the open ocean and give incredibly accurate predictions of where tsunamis are going to end up, and more importantly, how big they're going to be. Right now, people can predict the arrival times of tsunamis very well, but how big those waves are going to be when they get there is kind of a crapshoot right now because you can't measure out in the open ocean what's going on. So, in conclusion, when you check tomorrow's surf, you're seeing Walter's science translated in for everyday life. And you can see Sean's relentless pursuit to make it useful and make it beautiful. And I am really grateful, really grateful to have learned from both of these giants. Walter's ocean scale thinking, Sean's surfer's eye. And I think Walter showed that the ocean speaks across the planet through swells and through tides and through data. And our job as surfers and ocean lovers and scientists, as students, is to just listen better to that data. So thank you, everyone.